That wasn't me. Right, well, welcome back to the podcast. You were voted number 2. You were voted number 2, the most listened to in all of the podcast.
How is that possible?
I don't know. Either you're really good or the rest of mine were really shit. So I can't decide.
Or everyone's really interested in perimenopause.
That is actually what it is. And do you know what? You're really the only kind of, when I'm getting a reference for something, I really only go to your page now. I look through your stuff because I just trust your information, because you do a lot of research. Journalist, truth, midlife truth seeker.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from talking about things that I don't. There's some things that are happening that I don't feel comfortable talking about because I can't find truth in it. So.
And things move so fast. Like science moves so fast. Things like appear changing all the time. So like in past posts, I've been saying certain things and now I possibly could be saying slightly different. So I'm like, it just moves quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It's making me nervous between you and me, because it's moving so quickly and getting so much attention that I feel more nervous than ever because I don't have a team behind me checking stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and do you know what I think as well? What I'm finding a lot of, if you're a personal trainer and you go through perimenopause, now you qualify yourself as a hormonal coach. I'm finding a lot of people saying this. I'm like, well, your experience is just your experience. It's not, you're not qualified to actually give a lot of information to other people. Do you know what I'm saying? So that is why I actually wanted you on the podcast today, because I don't know if it's January, it's the season for personal training coaches coming on saying, oh, join this hormone thing. Like, just because you've went through perimenopause or starting to does not make you a qualified coach in that field. We know.
No, and it's a hot new thing. So I'm seeing all the products for it. It's a bit different.
It's cash in time. It's cash in time, isn't it? Maybe we should come up with something. Why don't we just come up with something and it'll just be like a billionaire? We could come up with some shit. They'll all buy it. Do you know what I'm saying, man? They'll believe us.
One of those Instagram ads that you see 17 times a day. If I skip up and order it, you raise your hands in defeat, like something.
Some will deep fake a celebrity, me talking to somebody. Davina McCall's done here, so we can't use her. But we'll get somebody and we'll just sell fake shit. And that is what is scaring me about the internet. And I actually find it so frustrating that I found myself staying away from Instagram for a while, because I'm like, it's like overload. So
we're in a tough space. Yeah, you're in a really tough spot.
It's a tough spot. And to what I want, because I've got a huge female following, that's all my followers, and they're all at the age of, it's like 35 to 45 is the most of the women that follow me. So I've got a responsibility to get some truth to them. Do you know what I mean? So that is actually why I was wanting you on. Start of the year, let's cut the crap. So I wanted to talk about your specific perimenopause journey from like when you started feeling a bit weird. Do you know what I'm saying? And then we'll cut out some myths and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's hear it then. I'm ready.
Okay. See? What do I just start telling you?
Yeah, I've been recording. Yeah.
I'll just start telling you right now. It all started. Okay. So I can't remember, but around 40, 41.
Okay.
I started having a very hard time. I started feeling very weird, and I started having anxiety. Like, I remember one night I was losing it, and I bought this tub of popcorn, and I took a taxi home, and I was eating the popcorn, like just calming myself down, have to chew. Like, not even really binge eating, but just kind of like, yes, I am losing it. And I hadn't felt that way. I always had anxiety and depression off and on, and I knew those feelings very well, but this was different. And around that time, I started having big sleeping problems. Like, I was waking up in the middle of the night, I was falling asleep in the afternoon, and I started having nightmares. Reoccurring nightmares, like really bad reoccurring nightmares that I was dying, and that I would wake up like, like in the movie.
Yes.
And it's very hard to explain, but my feeling when I woke up was that I knew that I was dying, and that I had been taking a pill every day to keep myself alive, and I had forgotten to take that pill for a certain number of days. So I was actually dying because I hadn't taken my keeping alive.
This is like staying alive. Some crazy subconscious shit. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like,
this sounds nuts, but I would be in my bedside table, I'd be on my hands and knees, and this was night after night after night. I developed a fear of flying. I really was in a bad way psychologically and had no idea. I still never knew about perimenopause until I was 47. And I skipped the period that I couldn't explain away with, international travel or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I in those years had a very, very, very hard time. It's only in retrospect, I'm 53 now into menopause, that I can really say those early parts were terrible. Like terrible. And then I had things happening in my personal life too, because none of this happens in a vacuum, right? This is a really full-on time of life.
Yep.
So I was having a live-in relationship that was breaking up. A family member, my brother's wife, was diagnosed with a brain tumor. I mean, this was serious times. And I was going to doctors. All my eyelashes fell out. I wouldn't say that was perimenopause. That was more like the
breakdown. Yeah, the stress.
So, yeah. So, out of that, still not knowing I was in perimenopause, still not knowing anything, I ended up going into therapy. I had therapy for a couple of years. Ended up adopting quite a few good habits, because at this time, and I'll tell you what I would have now that I know, but what I think happened in that early part is that I think that I think you bring in what you bring into perimenopause makes it worse. And so I brought childhood adverse experiences, and I never processed. I brought trauma from the early part of my journalism career, horrible things I saw, never dealt with it. So I started having intrusive emotional problems. I had 20 plus years of IBS, probably due to all of that. And I always overwork, like I'm the person who thinks I need to sing for my supper. I've got to produce. I never got married or had kids, so I've got to be killing it. Like I had to give a report to everyone about all the cool dating things that happened to me, and and then to deal with all of the anxiety that I had always done, it worked out like crazy. So when I would get anxious or this,
it's the perfect storm.
I would make like crazy like schedules. You know what I mean? That would be how I would calm myself down. So I would be like, I'm going to go spinning, then I'm going to race across town to Perimenopause. Born idea. And by the end of the week, I'll feel easy,
Yeah, no, I know.
Sometimes
I know.
Sometimes it's a week.
Mm-hmm. And then you're probably the type of person, if you were relaxing, you'd have to then like do an article about relaxing because you weren't working at that point.
Exactly. And then I was the kind of person that really actually needed to drink to relax. So I would drink on the weekends to deal with my anxiety and then sort of have to recover from that. And so I had a kind of like my eyelashes fell out and I was having all this anxiety. I had a bit of a, I don't know if a breakdown, but I ended up at this really lean naturopathic doctor. And she said, if you don't change your ways, you can't live like this. And so I really sort of sorted a lot of things out, but I still struggled with many different weird symptoms for years until I realized I was in perimenopause. What I know now is that, I went through menopause at 53, the average age is 51. 10 years, even more before that, we're starting to experience the hormonal fluctuations, and long before our period changes, maybe even at all. And I know you talk a lot about progesterone, but when the progesterone starts to recede, it's kind of like it's affecting your stress response, your hypothalamus, adrenal, pituitary axis, the HPA axis. I started saying axis. Axis. And that's the sleep, that's the mood, that's where I was just like, I would make all those crazy workout things, but they wouldn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Like I would do them all week and then I'd still have to binge drink on the weekend and then I'd still be in a terrible state.
Yeah.
Nothing I did was working. And so a lot of women talk about that. So I wish back then, I don't even know if I took magnesium. I've always been pretty healthy, but I wish I took magnesium or taurine. That's a good combination that a doctor I reference a lot, an Eddie I reference a lot, Lara Biden recommends. And I wish I'd known about progesterone because I think that I was living in a world that was just a very scary place. And I had an extreme reaction to this. But it was made worse by what I brought to it and then just by the progesterone. So it went on and I've had so many different phases of this because I've had an epic perimenopause. But it can be a very scary thing if you don't know what's happening.
100%. It's a lot of like reassessing your life type of moments when you're there. And I think the crossover is really hard to work out. Like, sometimes when women get to the sort of age where you're like reassessing, you don't know if it's your hormones, you don't know if you're actually fed up, want to split up with your man, your husband. And I think that it's very hard to work it out. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to make any crazy, I know, because I get my female clients and they might be like that, no, I want to split up with them, and I'm like, is this their, and I don't want to be that person going, is this your hormones? Because they're probably getting that off their man as well. So it's a really difficult time for a woman, especially in that 40 kind of, where your kids are maybe teenagers, your career's maybe going up, maybe things are getting faster pace, your energy's taking a dip.
Yeah.
It's a fucking rough ride, man, innit?
Yeah, and I think we go through a natural, like I talk about perimenopause and menopause as a heroine's journey. And by the heroine's journey, I mean sort of like a pattern that was recognized by the American writer Joseph Campbell, Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, all, the characters go through the same sort of journey. We have heroes and heroines journey naturally in our 40s, right? Because it's like, what have we been doing? Why are we here? Is this what we want? Like, whether you want to or not, those questions pop up. There's tons of movies.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And the hero's journey, I actually, when I was searching in my 40s and not knowing what I wanted to do, because I was also at a crossroads, and this comes when all of this is happening, you don't even know half the time if you want to keep doing what you thought you wanted to do and you aimed at your whole life. But this hero's journey is at the core of every movie you've seen, book you've read, poem. It's just basically the hero is called to a greater adventure, greater falling. You don't want to go. Like, you don't want to change anything. And on the topic of the relationships, that's really interesting, because that relationship definitely needs to go. But I know I've spoken with some older women, particularly Lynette Shepherd. She's the menopause goddess. And when she went through menopause, she got a group of about 15 friends. And she's older, so this was a long time ago when there was less information. And she said they agreed not to split up with their husband. They all wanted to split up with their husbands. I mean, and they agreed not to. And she said there's only one divorce out of that group of 15. And they all kind of, like, there were times when it's like, I want to leave, but I'm going to stick it through. So that's, I think, because mine was really at the beginning, that relationship needed to go. I don't know about that, but
And also, I think as well, what you're saying about you kind of come to this, and I think women, when we start going through this, start to maybe think, I need to put myself first here. And then that's also how the relationship can, crumble a bit.
Man.
Oh, man. Isn't it? Because you start going, I'm not fucking pairing your socks anymore. Like, this is over. I'm not. And then they start to get a bit about themselves, So it's a very hard to get the bloody waters of what actually the fuck is going on. So
with everything everywhere all at once, it's everything. It's just like, how do you just hang on?
Hang on tight, get a helmet, get a chin strap, fucking hang on. Do you know what I'm saying?
Bubble wrap. Yeah, because I've had the hindsight. I just went through menopause at 53 in August. So
you feel good now? Do you feel great?
Yeah.
Do you? Is there light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, I mean, it really was a crazy year. Like, I didn't know where, and my health kind of blew up, but I solved it, and I could feel like just the strength, like the rising. Like, it definitely is a temporary, albeit quite lengthy, recalibration. Even my brain fog is going away. Even
amazing.
For a while there, I didn't know, like, sexual desire. I could just feel that sort of coming back, like,
it's
really interesting. And I haven't gone on the therapy. I can't find a doctor here to prescribe me anything.
Kind of know.
And I don't really need to go on. I don't really have, like, when I healed my various medical problems, I just had a bunch of stuff that can happen, because perimenopause leaves you very vulnerable to issues. Insulin resistance. I had all of it. Insulin resistance, prediabetes, fatty liver, thyroid. I had all that. And that's the thing, is that it doesn't cause it, but it's just like the imbalance just leads.
If you're susceptible maybe to it, it's going to get you to that destination.
Yeah. And like that was the reason, right? You can't can't have IBS for 20 years and not, it's not to get it too graphic, but I do believe this hero's journey of the 40s. Also, it's like you're being called to figure that out. Like, you being called to figure out how you're going to live your life healthily, or mentally, emotionally, physically, for the rest of your life. So a lot of people want to take the time to sort out anything or change anything. And I think that's where the problems come.
I think one of the biggest things from our first podcast, and I was kind of starting to notice a pattern with women, is the trauma, taking the trauma into perimenopause. For some reason, it's like opening fucking Pandora's box, and I couldn't quite work out what the fuck was going on. And I mean, you had the conversation of you saying that if you're taking that with you into perimenopause for some reason, it just all of a sudden, like it's there now. It's like, hi, you've been ignoring me, but now you need to deal with me. Why? Why does that happen? Is it because it's like a brain rewiring and it's just like thoughts and, because it's really strange. It's so common that now I really need to talk about it, because it's not like what happens to some people. It's happening to most of the women that I work with, speak with.
You're saying that, yeah.
I've seen it loads, the trauma coming up to say hello. And I know younger people who have had things happen. And I'm like, how would you need to start dealing with that now in your early 30s? Like, what can we? And it's so weird. Why?
It's my dream. That's my dream, is that people, okay, look, first, I'm Jenna. We didn't, you didn't even talk about therapy.
No.
You wouldn't even, no. You didn't talk about any of this mamby-pamby stuff.
Nah.
We just got on with it. Our parents can, we ran around and
no, it was nothing.
Completely. So I think that people in their 30s now, you just have to look at social media. It's all about trauma and taking care of yourself. And I think hopefully people are going to start dealing with that. You just can't shove stuff down for so long. It will it will come back. And I don't even think it's just women, because I'm single and dating, and I've dated guys in their 40s and they're not okay too. Just think that probably women, due to, the patriarchy and et cetera, have some more trauma than men do because of, harassment and sexual assault and that kind of thing. And some of the trauma that we go through, acting certain ways and not safe
100%
in certain situations, right? So that's my thesis on that. And I don't have anything to back it up, but it will come out, and it's best. There's so many great ways to deal with it.
Like I was going to say, what would you do now going back? Anne-Marie, you could travel back just to when you're starting the before it. What would you do now?
Before.
What would you do with trauma? You're going to unlock the crazy?
I would change completely. No, I would be like, the way I feel is not right. I feel like there's something wrong with me. I feel a lot of anxiety. I feel a lot of depression. I feel like I need to drink sometimes to get away from that feeling. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin. I don't feel like I'm being myself. And no one would know that because I'm well. So I would be more honest with myself about that. But everyone's journey is their journey.
Yes.
So I would know the perimenopause. I would get some progesterone to help me in these early stages, because even then the estrogen is rising and falling. And while lots of doctors say estrogen is what you need and they don't pay much attention to progesterone at all, the most forward-thinking people seem to think that progesterone is the way to go in the early stages. And it just makes sense when you look at chemically what's happening, possibly testosterone. I embarked on talk therapy, and it was ultimately, like, I would say not that. I discovered some things in there, like that I had codependent tendencies, but it was just a circle of talking,
Yeah.
It wasn't until COVID and I was 50 and I had a dating experience and I started, that just went like, okay, this is something, I'm doing something here. I would have told you I was like unlucky in love before that. That's when I learned about attachment styles.
What attachment style are you? What are you?
Anxious and avoidant. The
good one, the 3% of people. Oh, shit.
Yeah. The one that's like, don't leave me. Oh, God. Like,
yeah. Don't touch me. Why you not? What fuck? Right, okay.
Yeah. I'm a treat. But I did some courses. I did some courses with Mark Rhodes, who's great to love. And that started to blow me open. Like, it just started to make me go, whoa.
Same.
Like, there's all this stuff. And just break me down where this stuff comes from, where my beliefs about myself come from, what I grew up with, and we all have this. And then I did a ton of work on that. And what I did this summer was I moved into like breath work and like somatic body work, which is really
yes
right now. And I did the workout, which I don't know if you've ever heard of her. I did her like month-long hip trauma release over August. And wow, like I probably cried every day.
That's so interesting.
Sobbing, sobbing, but just like let myself cry. And for years, I come from the generation of like, don't cry. Like, it'd be ashamed if you were crying. And I cried so much in the last year and let's go. And I lost weight doing that trauma thing. I mean, I was healing from my gut stuff, so I was losing weight. But I am telling you, month, I lost weight. I didn't even try.
Actual like weight, both actual weight, pounds, and the weight of the fucking trauma as well.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because a lot of people, when you're telling them this, especially if they're really logical people, are kind of like, what, you're holding it? But we had an event, and so it was like a lot of hip release, and some of the women were getting really emotional, and the yoga lady was like, it's because we hold a lot of our emotion and trauma in the hips. Isn't it so weird? But have you ever read that book, Body Holds the Score?
I read that book this year.
Because my Chinese doctor, she's very much like, oh, you're holding this resentment in your liver. And they're always fucking bang on. Yes, you're bang on. That's how they say about like angry drunks and stuff like that, because it's a toxic liver. So the emotion anger comes out when you drink.
Interesting.
It's interesting, isn't it? So in Chinese medicine, they're all about it.
It's nobody pays enough attention to the liver in Western medicine for sure.
Yeah.
But this was fascinating me as Gen X because none of this was talked about, right? Like, I think I was in a yoga class once and I felt this huge surge of emotion in pigeon, and I remember the teacher saying we store a lot of emotions in our hips. But what I always did, this is another thing I had to cure myself from, and I would like other people to, is I would just go and ask other people what they thought. And if they didn't think it was relevant, I would just think, oh yeah, that's a bit shit.
Yeah.
Like I asked everyone else's opinion about everything.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why. And so now I don't care because I know
it's validation or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
it's thinking that
I had. So everything I did that. And I remember running, like I was a big runner in my early 30s. And sometimes I would get so angry in the middle of the run, or I would get also very emotional and I'd have to stop and sort of feel like I was going to cry. And it's like, it's there. It's there. We don't have to even question it because why are you having those emotions?
Exactly.
You don't just store your emotions from here up.
No, I know, but people don't get, well, even if you start to feel anxious, if you think about a situation, you can feel your heart getting faster. So you're just thinking about something and it's having a physical effect on the body. It is crazy. But for me, when you need to be careful who you're talking to for them to start, until they get to perimenopause, then they fucking know. Then they're coming to me like that. What was that book you said about the liver and the anger?
Yeah.
You know? So what I would say is exactly what you've said. Like, start asking questions about yourself, find out your attachment styles, even reading books. And also shadow work. Shadow work really helped me looking at things I didn't like about myself. It's quite a strange... When I first did it, I was like, I love everything. Oh no, I hate everything about myself, really.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's quite a game changer.
You're embracing the darkness.
Yes.
And I mean, thank you for bringing it up because that's one of the key things. Yeah, like I went from being a person who's like, I have this darkness that I don't want to ever think about and it's wrong and that makes me wrong, to this is what we all have this. We all have horrible thoughts. We all have like dark. Yeah.
Yes.
We all have this. We
might have
this is not that one is feeling that doesn't have it. It's like fully studied in psychology. That
fully studied.
I think another huge thing is inner child work.
Yeah. And loving our child lives.
Yeah, I haven't done it. I've had a couple of really interesting conversations over the last year that have been pivotal. Like I've met on my journey, like the right people. But I was lucky enough to go review a beautiful resort called Kamalaya in Koh Samui in March. And I saw this man, Srini Bhatt, there, who is amazing. And he was just, I didn't want to go because it sounded like I think it was called like stress management. And I was like, hell, I've been writing for 15 years.
Yeah.
So what's this Zoom going to tell me?
Yeah.
And even when I went in, I'm like, I
know this shit. Yeah.
And he was like, check. Oh, okay. It ended up that I still had the Reiki and I went back. I'm like, well, I guess I'll spend it out.
Yeah.
He changed my life. And what he did was he explained to me in a way that was so clear. It's like, your inner child is that part of you that needs the attention. It needs care. Mm-hmm. It's when you get that anxious, upset feeling and you shove it down. That's like your inner child's like, I need you, and he said, who's your favorite niece or nephew? Or I said, well, I love my niece, Lily. And he said, okay, imagine if you were working, you're at home and you're working, you're visiting and she wants to spend time with you. You said, okay, I just have to do some work. Sit on that chair. And then an hour went by and you were like, I'm coming. And then 5 hours went by and the whole day went by. He said, you would be devastated to leave her sitting on the chair. And that's what you were doing. Yeah. To the most important part of yourself when you're just refusing to pay attention to this pain And you know this, right? All it takes is like cry for a minute. Stop and say, what is wrong, Anne-Marie? Like,
what is it? But not that I'm like that with the kids, but even the kids, like their emotions are happy, sad, hysterical, crying. There's not much more complexity going on there. So like with your inner child, because we're all like adults now, we're like, oh no, that's just a silly.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. But these things really make a big difference. So inner child, shadow work, two of the biggest game changer things. And also the attachment style was huge for me as well. To know why I was doing certain behaviours in relationships. I'm anxious attachment, so I've got this sort of fear of abandonment. So being a very big people pleaser, I'll do it so that they don't leave. But the reality is they could still anyway. You know, you've just fucking rinsed yourself. So that was mine. And also the shadow work I found dead interesting, because how you don't like something in somebody is usually a trait that you have. I thought that blew my mind. Like, fuck, do you know what I mean? Hate that person, that's you. Like, whoa. Isn't it? And it's like, this isn't woo-woo shit. This is actual like psychology stuff that will help you when you go through that transition, because people leave out the mind work. They leave out all that shit. All I get all day is, I got to midlife and I'm fat now. And I'm like, hold on, what else happened though? Do you know what I mean? So people don't think about, the mind stuff. You're having this huge like brain rewiring with the perimenopause. They just think, I've put weight on. Do you know what I'm saying? So
I'm really curious about what you experience with this, because this is what I see all the time. And if you talk about weight gain, it's the most popular thing in the world.
Huge.
Like look, none of us likes to gain weight. I struggled with my weight a lot in the 40s. But like, first of all, I feel like if you deal with this other stuff, you will naturally lose weight.
I think so too, because stress makes you, and trauma, they make you make bad decisions. Do you think you're really worrying about health, and if you've got all this other shit going on mentally? It's like, you need to deal with all that first.
And if you're not living in your truth, it sounds 100%. If you're not living in your truth, that you're not being authentic, you're probably not making great choices. And I wasn't in my 40s. I was, like I said, I would binge drink and then be like super healthy during the week, but exercise in an unhealthy way. And I
just punishing yourself.
Yes. And I had to do all these things to feel some level of stasis or comfort.
Yeah.
And I'm so different now. And like, I'll go to a yoga class, but it's a way different thing. It's like, I need that yoga class to feel a certain way to live my life. Right.
100%. Yeah.
And I can't separate having gone through this and what I've done. I just think that you're just sort of left really exposed when these hormones start fluctuating. And I feel like everyone wants it to be very simple. And so, the one thing, you talk about this stuff on social media all the time, that is like someone's promising the answer, like deep protein.
Yes. One thing.
You take hormone therapy,
you'll be thin. As soon as you take it the next day, you're going to wake up thin like you were when you were 18.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. And it's not always to blame for the weight gain. Like, did your energy go down? Did you start eating a bit more? Did you start drinking a bit more because you're anxious? And like all these things have probably over time crept weight on you, and then you've went, fuck, I'm overweight. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like, this is what I'm saying on social media, the hormone coaches and stuff like that are kind of selling it. Like, hormones made you fat, but I'm going to make sure you know, and then hormones will now make you thin. So I'm like, fuck, man, hormones are really getting a lot of blame for the weight gain shit. Do you know what I mean? In my circle.
Yeah, but here's a controversial thing, which is that when you go on the pill, which a lot of people are on the pill and doctors are fine with the pill, right?
Yeah.
Go on the pill, you take synthetic hormones. You're basically putting yourself into a situation of menopause. You're not ovulating.
And chemical menopause,
how healthy ovulation is for you. And that's the goal, is to have a healthy cycle. So everyone's perfectly fine with you like removing, like doing that for years, but then you've got to replace your real hormones when you go through menopause.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I understand that.
That is so strange to me as well. So you can cut them off for years and years, like people on the pill for 20 years, then all of a sudden now you need them. But it's a very confusing thing, because you've said that you're not on HRT, is that right? So you're...
Yeah, and I may, if I can, I feel like maybe I should experiment with it, but I
would like you to experiment with it, because I know you'll report really well on it. So I kind of, before I reach that time, I want you to do it first. And then
but I found a doctor that it was a gut health specialist, homeopathy specialist, a general practitioner, and she helped me heal everything. And so most of my symptoms that I was having, brain fog, I had inflammation, weight 20 pounds that I couldn't lose.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fatigue. I had a lot of problems, and all those had cleared up. So I don't really have any symptoms. I'll have occasional hot flashes, and they're always connected to a stressful thought. And so I don't have any of that right now. But I don't know. This hormone therapy question is really interesting to me. And even on the pill, I've seen some social media posts where there's doctors saying that women are being prescribed vaginal estrogen for vagina problems and UTIs, that they're getting on the pill. And I'm like, what? No, my God. What is that? I don't even know what's happening. But anyway, we're in upside down world at the moment. And this is why I'm already saying, like, we're in the middle of it. This is very hard to find answers. But I don't think hormones are the only answer.
I don't think they are either. And it is very confusing. Where I run into problems is if I've got a 32-year-old who is naturally ovulating, but say they're doing the stress, they're doing what we used to do with over-exercise, they're not eating enough, and their progesterone is low, you can do certain things that will then make their progesterone stimulate again. They'll start ovulating, very good. When you are losing progesterone through the transition, you can't really stimulate those hormones anymore. You've got to kind of replace them. So that's where I'm kind of struggling, because there's a lot of people that say, okay, you're getting no symptoms, but you're still susceptible to diseases that having hormones will, like things like your bone density, osteoporosis, heart conditions, like for women, heart disease, that even though you're not getting symptoms, you still need these hormones because we're like living longer. So I'm like, fuck. Do you know what I'm saying? That's difficult, because I'm like, well, what do I do to get people to stay naturally? We're all meant to go through the menopause, or now it's like, should we take hormones and freaking get on a bit of test or something here?
I'm confused about this, and I change my mind all the time about it, because I've had 100 episodes of my podcast, dozens and dozens of doctors. I've asked them, should I go on hormone therapy?
Yes.
If I'm not having symptoms, and almost everyone has said no. And I know that you wouldn't get that from social media. You would think, no, hormone therapy is an anti-aging hack. It's long-term.
Yes.
Protects against cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis. Okay, fine. But the dementia and cardiovascular disease pieces are not backed up by a full body of it. That has not, and there's no medical body guiding body in the world. Nice guidelines of Britain, Menopause Society in North America, Australasia. None of them recommend hormone therapy to prevent dementia or cardiovascular disease.
Wow. See, and then
they don't.
Yeah,
and you will see people confidently saying they're picking and choosing, they're cherry picking studies. They want it to badly be true. Yeah, when it comes to osteoporosis, it is recommended to prevent osteoporosis. But I have seen studies where if women have gone on hormone therapy for 5 years, or 2-3 years out of 5 years, they've been followed up later. The rate of bone density loss, actually, in the women who took hormone therapy went off of it, accelerated after.
So,
and no one ever talks about that. It's while you're on the hormone therapy. And then so the answer, I said that to someone who's in the fitness space. She said, well, why would you ever go off of it? Well, that also isn't completely, that's not something that's recommended by any guiding body in the world either, that you can stay on hormone therapy.
Well, now there is groups of people now online saying that you shouldn't come off hormone therapy ever. So I'm like,
really? But that's not backed up by a robust body of research and all of this may be true in 10, 15 years. But if you're going to say science on one hand, you have to say science on another hand. And it's very nuanced, because there's so many things that cause dementia. There's so many things that contribute to cardiovascular disease. Yeah. That perhaps, there's Dr. Dale Breslin is a leader in the Alzheimer dementia space. And he has written books, and one's called The End of Alzheimer's. And he has a protocol for sort of reversing the initial stages of Alzheimer's. I think there's 16, 17 aspects to it. And this may have changed since I read it, but one of them is hormone therapy. You know what I mean? It's I get really nervous at people like, well, I'm going on hormone therapy to prevent dementia.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to drink. I'm still going to smoke. I'm
Yeah.
still going to
Still
be in a dead end
overweight.
relationship,
Yeah.
live a lie, and
Yeah.
have good connections, and
Yeah.
eat whatever food. I'm a red dye when I don't know. Like
Yes.
there are so many causes of dementia. He compares it to a roof with like a whole bunch of leaky. You're just patching. Metas that live with insulin resistance and pre-diabetes and not do anything about it, and have metabolic dysfunction and all sorts of things. So yeah, I'm like, when I think someone saying it prevents dementia, this is something that people want to be true, but the most responsible people, it's
My male friends who are from like the bodybuilding kind of world, who are going on steroids, will go on like a certain course of hormones. Then they'll get blood tests, and then they'll come off of that, do like post cycles and stuff like that. But there is a lot of blood testing that these guys do for just going on and off sort of hormones. And a lot of the time in the UK, you go to the doctor, you either get HRT or you get antidepressants without a follow up, without a blood test. I'm like, how do you know how much to take when there's guys that are just on steroids that are like getting the levels of their testosterone? Okay, I'm going to add a bit in here, I'm going to take a bit out. How can women just go on estrogen and whatever else without knowing where you are? I think that to me sounds crazy, but I don't know if it's just because I've grown up with guys in bodybuilding and that's how they are. And I'm like, should we be doing that if we're going to be taking stuff? Do you know what I mean?
No, I do know what you mean, because yesterday I met a guy, he was 43, and he started taking testosterone, and he said it changed his life, and he was using the gel, and then he started using injections.
Yeah.
And he was exactly his levels.
Yeah.
He said he'd lost all this weight, he has all this energy. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, I don't know a woman who says, my estradiol is this, or my, like my testosterone is this. And as far as I know, measuring testosterone levels in the cell is quite disputed. So I don't even know how the blood level measurement of testosterone is reflective. I'm not cognizant of all that. But you're right. You're right. It's an unsatisfying situation when guys are going on testosterone for sort of lifestyle reasons, and women are really, really suffering, and it can't be measured this way, sort of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but
it's like if you go to the doctor here and you were a guy and you see all these symptoms, your hair and you're feeling like shit, you've got no sex drive, they get the testosterone, they'll get all the but honestly, my female clients that go in there, honestly, at death's door, like they're crawling into the doctor's surgery, get told their options are like HRT, which a doctor who I'm really close with over here has told me that they've just been told now to give it there because they're just causing so much time in the NHS. Like, just see if a woman comes in, just allow her to have the HRT. Like, and for me, I think it's just maybe because the bodybuilding guys trying to get into good shape, we're just so pernickety with how they dose the hormone. The post-cycle is really important. Like, you can't just come off testosterone, or as some of my female clients, I forgot to take it for a week. Like, these guys that were doing things so by the book, and then over here for women, I feel like it's fucking potluck. Like, hormone replacement's going to change your life. It's not. How much do you take? Don't know. Like, it's crazy, Yeah, like, I want somebody just to say.
Yeah, we know there's women too who've been given, like, there's this woman, Paula Rastrick, I really like to follow, because she's kind of can be unpopular, but she's a therapist who was given way too much hormone therapy. Like, she was given one dose and then it wasn't working, and then she was given more and more and more. And so her whole account is sort of cautioning that she's she's like a sensitive person, that if you're a sensitive person, like, you might not respond to hormone therapy in the same way. And this trend to like give you more and more and more without sort of measuring the impact that it's having on you is unsafe. Like, it's fucking exogenous intervention is not benign, and it's not fashionable now to talk about side effects or ask questions about it. But I don't care, because it's powerful.
I would rather be sort of in your position and not take anything. That I would rather be there, but then you're kind of like, oh my God, but maybe if I took it, I'd be fucking like some sort of sex machine walking about, muscly, lean as fuck, abs. And I'm like, that should we take hormones? Do you know what I mean? So, but I would instinctively, like, every bit of me is more natural, and like, this is a process that we go through in our lives and we're meant to. So I'd rather be where you are, where you're not taking it and you've got through the worst, you've had to deal with your lifestyle and you feel good. Like, I would like to tell people that, let's get the lifestyle things and then see how you feel, and then if hormones are a possibility. But I don't like the idea of just like, I'm 41, I'm going to take hormones now. Do you know what I mean? Without doing anything.
Yeah. I'm glad that I had the experience. And I tried several times to get hormones. It's just, there's a pish-pash of doctors over here from different places. I had a French doctor. She wouldn't give it to me.
Oh, shit.
My doctor will still not give it to me. Like, even, she delivers babies. She's not comfortable with hormone therapy. So she keeps saying, like, side effects. And I'm giving her the studies and I do all the things they say. And I'm just like, whatever, I don't really need it. I'm trying to go on it for an experiment. But I am glad that I had the experience, because I do believe we were meant to go through it. You know, if I'm telling you it's okay and I did all the work, and people don't want to do it. And so I don't know, sometimes I wonder, like, people go on at 41, do you get to skip all that stuff? Do you want to skip all that stuff? Yes. And this push to go on hormone therapy, it's great that we're getting the word out and that women who need it will find it. But there is a sort of 60-ish feminine forever whiff to it of, like, don't change, you know, like, firing on all your estrogen that you have for. Don't alter in any way, because I am, like, much less fuckable or more, less. Like, I've changed. Like, I will tell, I had an argument with a friend earlier this summer because I said, I don't like what you can say to me in this way. And it didn't go well. But I wouldn't have said that. I would have complained to everyone.
And pure drama. But then it says that in generations of families back, like, you know, how when everyone used to live in the same house. So obviously you've got the daughter who might be raising a small child and she's a bit more fiery, she's mid-30s. Then the menopausal woman's meant to be able to calm the daughter down. So imagine everyone's just fucking in the house causing fucking drama. That's what it'll be like my house. Everyone will be full of estrogen. Fucking, do you know what I'm saying though? Like, so you are meant to go through, like, so I'm a calmer, I can see the bigger picture because my estrogen isn't fucking and my testosterone isn't. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you're meant to have a different chapter in your life. Like, I even noticed my mum. My mum used to have road rage, get out of the car at the traffic lights, be fucking hammering on the door and all that. Whereas now she just goes, oh. Do you know what I mean? So, like, it's meant to be like
drama queen all the time. And I just, like, it's a relief from that. And there's, like, just sort of a wisdom. And I feel, okay, I'm going to sound crazy, but I feel like I can really see people, like, more of them.
That you should,
My intuition is so much stronger. And now I understand that your intuition isn't like this loud bell. It's just a quiet feeling. And I've always had it. But it's like, okay.
I think you had too much drama, like all the drama. So you couldn't even tune into it. You're asking people, should I do this? Should I do that? Your intuition was fucking not even thought about. You know what I mean? So I think that for what you're saying is we're meant to go through these changes, these experiences. And I feel like just thinking you can go on HRT till you die, I'm like, I don't.
Like, to skip a valuable stage of life. But it's controversial to say, because if you need it for symptoms, you should obviously be able to have it. But I personally don't want to miss any of the difficult parts of being human, even though if you asked me in the middle of it, I would have wanted to. You know? But I'm also a person who wouldn't go on something. So I will, you know, my friends were like, you should go on antidepressants, anti-anxiety. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I do believe these things come from somewhere and need to be addressed. But even in dating, you know, like, I just recently dated a guy for like 2 weeks, and I was like, whoa, this is a different experience, dating in menopause. And I talked to another lady who lost her husband in COVID, but she said, yeah, it's really different. Like,
why? What is
completely different? Like,
you're not arsed if they text you, like, straight away. You're not like, you're not on the phone like that. What's he doing? Where is
he? Carrying and worrying. And you know, men have this way of, like, being on their best behavior and then sort of letting things slide, right? And it's like they're on their best behavior until a certain point, and then it starts. It's just like, and not you know, not that I've ended up in relationships with, but like maybe dating, and it's like I would have put up with that crap. And just this time around, I was like, oh no, I know.
Nah.
You know?
Nah.
Not responding, not having to answer back the text messages, not hopping in, like, not anxiety. I've done a lot of work on my attachment style, so I can feel like a little bit of anxiety. I could feel a little bit of avoidance, but
You're like,
just like me.
I know what it is.
Yeah, I think this guy is. I think it's his guy. I think he's not right for me.
It's
No longer
it's not me. Yeah, do you know what I mean? God's sake, man. Like, are you just got Tinder? What are you doing to like date the guys?
I want a Bumble. I want a Bumble, but then I dated this guy and he's, nice guy, going to be great for someone else. And then I just deleted Bumble and I was like, you know what? Everything else has worked out the way it's supposed to work out. I'm just going to trust that this is going to go the way it's supposed to go. Like I've always looked. I've been looking the whole time.
But you are like you're a planner as well. That's your fucking, do you know what I mean? And now this is like go with the flow.
I gotta get this. I always thought there was something sort of wrong with me. Why can't I make this work? I've had loads of relationships, but I just thought, I think we're just gonna let this rest. And the menopause is enabling me to just kind of not be chill about that and not feel like I have to get someone else.
Yeah, but then look at that as well. If we go back to like ancient times, right? Estrogen is like your fertility, so maybe that's what makes you have that sort of crazy drive. Like, I need to have a baby, I need to get this fucking estrogen's like, do you know what I mean? And now it's like that's actually not a fucking driving factor anymore. Like it's like all the other
years. If
do you know what I mean?
A couple of years, I'll be okay. Yeah, I think I'll be okay. And I don't feel this need to entertain other people anymore with my, making my life some sort of, I don't know. That was a weird thing I developed when I didn't get married, but whatever.
I think it's good though that you just get to that point where you're like, I don't really care what people think anymore. Apparently it's called like the hourglass effect. Have you heard of this?
The what?
The hourglass. The hourglass. So you know how like the sand timer. So when you're at the age of like when you're young till about 10 or something, you don't care. And then when you get to your teenage years, your 20s, your 30s, you start to really care what people think. But then it comes back out to the point where you actually go, I don't give a fuck what people think anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's like such a good place.
They really are thinking about you. Even when you say something dumb, like I say dumb things all the time. It used to kill me. Like it's like they're gonna think about it for 5 seconds, and like people don't think, right? Like
especially now
that you walk, even with your partner. How rare that you might go to a party and say like, so and so was really weird tonight. Like that's pretty rare.
Yeah, we don't go to parties, man. Like I don't even leave the house.
I mean,
I don't go out, man. I think that's a worst nightmare. Like. Not for me anymore.
I love seeing your family on Instagram and the trip to Sephora.
Yes, I know. By the way, that was a really awful. See, driving in those sand dune things, like so travel sick. I've never been close to being sick in public in my whole life. I was like, and then the guy, really, really nice. Everyone's really nice. But the guy was like, I was like, the kids are feeling travel sick, And I didn't care. I was fucking upside down in the Jeep and all that, man.
Well, I don't think
they don't.
We went on one when my niece came. She's the only person I would go on a desert safari for because I've been on like 6 of them. And God, but she's a woman. I was like, of course you are.
How could you not be? Like, how could you fucking not be? But it was really good. It was great. Oh my God, the Dubai weather. I told you as well when I was messaging you when I was over there. I have phlegm over here, like because of the dampness. Did not have it over there once. As soon as the plane hit Scotland, I was like, I can feel the phlegm.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously, my Chinese doctor said that this is why she moved to this country to open my practice, because she knew that she'd make the money because we're all living in the cold and the damp. So she moved here purposely. Wow. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's life-changing. And when I moved here, I didn't even think about it, but because I spent every day and I always had terrible headaches with the barometric pressure changing. Rain. So
yeah, so does Stacey.
Never had that. Never had that.
Migraines.
Like, you just don't have it. Yeah.
It's crazy that in the vitamin D for your health, like So like she was like, when I told her this about Dubai and all that, she was like, yeah, that's why I work here, because yous are all really ill. Because obviously I was telling her about the cold shower that everyone's getting in these cold tubs, and she found that crazy. She was like, what? Because they believe like the coldness creates dampness in your body.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about that. I'm really curious about
she's not for it.
Chinese medicine or like,
it
feels so good though. It feels,
I think it's good for your brain because you maybe overcome something and do something you don't want to do. I get that for the mind. But I've got kids. I'm doing shit I don't want to do every other day. Like, I also need to be getting in a fucking cold bin. But she was saying that the dampness seeps in through, like, basically all your body, and it creates, like, the coldness creates the damp. And you see that if it rains, then it's misty and it's damp. You touch things and it's wet. So it was interesting. she's in. That was interesting for me. She believes that saunas in the heat, they don't even drink cold water. She drinks like kind of lukewarm water.
Yes, I've heard this too. I've heard this too, but I love cold water. These are things that are very confusing because
Exactly.
this and fitness, everyone starts doing something.
Oh man.
So I call myself a recovering journalist still a lot of the time because when I was younger and I was working and there was no social media, I would see trends and I would think, okay, like I'm this an amazing trend spotter, right? Like I'm going to write an article because of, I'm trying to think of one that I can. And then I started seeing on social media, same thing. But you just start seeing the cool kids doing all one thing, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know really if any of it's real or
I don't know either.
everyone. I know when your parents said if everyone would go jump off a bridge, would you go jump off the bridge?
And I'm fine with that. Because you're programmed to want to fit in. Like, we're programmed, if you don't fit in with your tribe, you're in danger. So we're programmed to, like, be kind of followers, sheep. But what I get a lot of now is I think people now don't know what makes them feel good or makes them feel bad. It's like they need to go on Instagram to get told if they've got a diagnosis or do I drink hot water, do I drink cold? I'm like, what do you feel better doing? What do you feel better doing? Because, do you know what I mean? I don't feel good going in the cold, but you do. So I'm like, that works for you. It doesn't work for me. Even with diets, even with training plans, you know, for me, burpees and box jumps don't work anymore. Still work for some people, don't work for me anymore. Like, so it's just, I think
you pay attention.
We're fed this information and now we can't make decisions. It was like you in your 30s, like, what do I do? What happens?
It's one of the things I really worry about with everyone tracking. So religiously, I'm not I
on the tracking sleep and
I don't because I feel like it's just creating a barrier between us and how we feel. And
I think
no one's talking about data. Yeah,
see the crazy
glucose monitors,
the crazy glucose monitors, like that's for people who have got type 1 diabetes and stuff. Like, not if you've got normal blood sugar. When you eat, your blood sugar spikes. That is actually a normal process of your body.
Oh my God.
And then it just clears it out.
But you're one more person saying,
fucking,
and then I fall.
No, I know.
Would even leave out my blood spike. And then
and you're still alive.
And
fuck off.
Like, I could have thought so. Like, I never.
I think that thing on your fucking arm is like the epiphany of what overthinking looks like. Do you know what I mean? I think if you wear that on your arm, you're like, oh, so you overthink. What's your star sign? Do you know what I mean? Like, there is no need.
Become a status symbol that you stick on your body. It's the Ralph Lauren polo or the Lacoste alligator, except you can just stick it on your skin.
It's just got
your phone and put it on your wrist, and you're cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know that people like it, but and this thing of not knowing how you feel, and I were falling into this trap. Like, everyone says take turmeric. I was taking turmeric, and just thank goodness I was in the middle of a Huberman 3-hour podcast when I used to do stuff like that. This was a couple of years ago when I was like trying to learn everything. And he said something about some people don't do well with turmeric, and he was one of them. And he just developed all these problems, and I stopped. I was like, I need to stop taking turmeric. But I was like,
take it because 100%. Even things like
it's good for me.
Yeah, CBD. My missus does really well for her CBD. See, for me, it actually kind of suppresses me. It makes me feel a bit low, whereas it doesn't do that to her. So just like we took the same thing, but we're two different people, and it's affected us differently. Shock, horror, obviously. Do you know what I mean? So I think what you've just said. Like, fuck, man, I need to like tune in to what I actually feel. You know. Yeah. And I don't think people do anymore.
This is why I feel if people go on hormone therapy, it's really, and any drug at all, it's really, and I think supplements too, if you're going to try a supplement to like track. Like, I started taking this on Saturday, and we're very bad at connecting the dots to how we feel on Wednesday. Something we started doing last Friday. And even, you won't have a good sleep, and then you won't feel good 2 days later. And, we're very bad at that. So I think you're talking about interventions. Things aren't always and to cause issues, then
So just finishing, what's your new year? What's one thing that you're going to be focusing on 2024? What are you doing? Do you do this kind of focusing? Do you set yourself a goal in the new year and all that? I actually like to.
I'm doing a huge me too. I'm doing a huge minute. I mean, okay, so I have my own goals of like, I had a chaotic 2023. I was very unwell and then I got better. So I just cleaning up the chaos of 2023.
Okay.
More intentional and living with wonder in 2024 because, I'm still sort of cleaning up the wreckage of that. But I want to get taking the minimal amount of supplements. I want to know exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I finally got back to strength training. And
Good.
I'm doing it in my gym upstairs by myself. I'd never done that before. I'm doing a program 3-4 times a week. That took like so long to get entrenched. So I want to say to anyone who's having trouble getting that going, like I'm a lifelong worker outer, but that took me a long time to get back to. So I want to keep that going.
Good. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. And I'll decide about the hormone therapy. And I just want to not be tough on myself about aging because that's a thing that's hard. It's the new
100%.
I lost weight and then it's just flicks for me to look in the mirror and be like, oh God. Like, and we're always having that thing. There's got to be a thing that we have to look and pick apart. And I want to not be like that.
I know. The aging thing's massive over here as well. It's like, it's tough. It's a mindset. There's things you can do, but it has to be a mindset of like, you've got the privilege of even getting to that, So
yeah. Having said that, I'll probably be doing some peels.
Yeah, get the acid on.
Thing.
Get some acid and some needle. That micro needling seems quite good.
More to say, just like
man. Retinol. Get some retinol. Do you do that? Nighttime retinol? Perfect, man.
Oh, I've been a terrible skin person my whole life. I'm
so bad.
Really sloppy.
I tend not to do much, but then I sometimes think, is that better? I don't know. But I mean, if we ever go and live in Dubai, I'll need to, because we were baking ourselves in that sun, man. 42 degrees. Me and Stacey like changed colour, man. We were like baking in it. 42 degrees, man. Desert heat. We were like that. Will we just sunbathe for 10 minutes? Do you know what I mean? In the desert? No. So I can't. I'll need to watch if we do live there.
I hope you move back here. I'll take you on a desert safari.
Oh, we'll go somewhere else. We were too far out, mate. We couldn't go anywhere. It was like £150 in a taxi to like get into the main city bit. We were like we were 20 minutes from the desert.
Yeah.
So we were there. We were like outside Dubai.
Yeah.
Do you know
that happens? It's hard to know where to stay, right? From outside.
I don't know. We just went, oh, that's a good hotel. They've got that for the kids. Let's go there. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it was gorgeous. See, just being in the sea, the warm sea. It was beautiful, man, wasn't it? So jealous that you live there. What a lifestyle.
Well, you will be jealous. It's a lie.
Yeah, when it's 60 degrees or something. Yes, I will. Of course I will. You know what I mean? Right. Thank you so much for coming on again. Let's see, we'll be number 1 podcast for 2024. Right, take care. Stay in touch. See you soon, mate. Thank you.
So love you.